Hello, everyone, and welcome to this really fun and learning experience of understanding relationships and connections. And This is going to be a session with Sakshi, and Sakshi is a very dear friend of mine, and we've been growing together and learning and healing together. And a lot of the times that we've come across, relationships in our lives where we need to learn to place boundaries, we've had a lot of deep conversations. So I was really keen on bringing her to share with us about, the learnings that we've had, and also some of the theories and some of like to really bring forth this wisdom of how to set boundaries, what are boundaries, why are they necessary, and really understanding how to set boundaries right from within with compassion as well as firmness. So, yeah, it's going to be an insightful session with her, and yeah, really looking forward to it. And the theme for this month has been shadow work. Although we moved around the sessions a little bit, but this one is going to be about like shadow work doesn't always have to be something that puts you in a spiral. It can also be empowering. It can help you understand where do you feel like you're people pleasing, or where are you being too like pushing people away from you. So just to recalibrate that, yeah, like to understand how you can move through any belief systems that you've had, and find the authentic boundary that you would like. Also, the session we're having after this at 7 o'clock is going to be about attachment theory, so you'll make more sense of it because you'll understand how your relationships are formed based on your childhood experiences. So then setting boundaries based on that knowledge becomes much easier. So we thought of doing these two sessions together in the theme of shadow work and relationships. So yeah, handing it over to Sakshi. I will be stepping in now and then to say what to add any value. But yeah, I'm just really excited about this to just receive all your transmissions, Sakshi. Yeah, welcoming you into this space.
Thank you. And I am really excited to be hosting this today. Uh, so many things to share, but also at the same time, grounding myself uh, into sharing really the wisdom that I have found for myself rather than just imparting knowledge that I've gathered from elsewhere. So I want this session to be quite interactive. So whenever you have any questions or doubts or anything of that sort, you can just put it in the chat box, and I can just pick it up. Okay. And I'll be sharing my screen. There's a small presentation that I've made. Uh, I'm not so much of a presentation girl or a woman, but it just makes life easier to put things down on paper and then talk about them. So yeah, I'll just be sharing my screen. Can you see this? Can you see yourself as well?
I love the image.
This is what we're going to do today. Um, how many people are here? All right. So relationships and connections, setting healthy boundaries. Um, Also, like a disclaimer kind of a thing. Boundaries are they're not easy to start with. They are actually the most kind of self-aware of what our needs are or how we operate within, how our emotions work. It can get really terrifying to start with, and but we're gonna smoothly go into the topic of boundaries and see how those work for us. Okay. Um, so there are some words that we need to understand first before getting into the topic. Now I'm really becoming a teacher here, but see if if this makes sense somewhere to you. The most important thing to understand first is self-awareness. Without that, I think anything that we're doing in this container or elsewhere is just kind of, it doesn't work. Like, the first major thing is self-awareness. Self-awareness makes you understand what is you and how you operate as this body, as your emotions, as your intellect, as your thoughts. Um, so self-awareness of your connection with yourself is the most important thing to understand when boundaries are there. Um, so boundaries come into picture only when we are connecting with someone. Like, you are there, and then something else is there, and only then there's like a middle, like a partition. It's not like a partition, it's really like a boundary. Which, there are many types of boundaries, we'll go into that later, but it's like there has to be two entities for a boundary to happen, right? It's not your boundary with yourself, it has to be with someone. So that needs self-awareness of our needs, what our needs are, what our emotional needs are, what our physical needs are, what we need to survive, um, emotionally, physically, intellectually,
I
philosophically.
uh,
Yes,
actually is close.
yes, Heather. Hello, I'm not able to hear you. Aarti?
You're audible, Sakshi. I think you can continue.
Okay.
If there's
Heather
any,
wanted to say something.
yeah, you can write in the chat if you want to say something. And I think Hetal's connection went off. Oh no, she's here.
Okay, okay, cool. So I think when she comes back, she can just write it in the chat or something. Can you drop her a text? Sure, thank you. So needs is the second word that we're going to be using in this session a lot. First is self-awareness, second is needs, because um, when we eventually find what our needs are, and I was saying needs in different ways: emotionally, physically, socially, intellectually, philosophically. So many needs are there. So an awareness of that. The third word is vulnerability, which is very important when it comes to boundaries, and we'll find that we'll use this word a lot when we talk about boundaries, because um, boundaries will constantly make you find a ground, a place where you will have to, um, you may have to actually get vulnerable, share what is there within you, share how you are feeling, and say what you are feeling. And if you are not used to that, uh, that creates that problem. And we are going to find a way where we are constantly finding what our needs are, and then we are learning how to say them or how to tell them to people that we are trying to connect with. So therefore the fourth word is connection. So connection happens when we are able to say in simple words what we need or what we do not need, without having to blame, without having to disrespect or disregard anyone, but at the same time uh, giving them an opportunity to understand how we are and what we need in order to connect with them, right? And all of that is is happening, like all of this whole connection, vulnerability, expressing our needs, getting self-aware, all of this can happen when there's a sense of emotional safety, and it cannot happen without that. So we'll also be learning today how to see if we are emotionally safe to express our needs. Is it really safe to express our needs in front of some people? Are they toxic? Will they be able to understand? Will they reciprocate or not? All of that, we'll also cover that. All right. Is there anything that you want, that is coming up for you when I say this? Um, would anyone like to share anything?
This is really a very useful framework, Sakshi. That's all I think I
Sorry.
wanted to say. Uh,
Sorry.
I said it's a very, very useful framework and helps
Yeah.
me understand and analyze why certain situations may have worked out the way they did or didn't.
Right. Yeah.
Also, Sakshi, I think another thing I feel is just looking at boundary as a right, because unfortunately, I mean, speaking for the kind of world I live in, at least, boundaries, like sort of made into an enemy or an other culture sort of a definition that's given. Though it is contextual, definitely, that, the definition, the cultural context of boundaries differ from culture to culture. But
Yeah.
even the idea that boundaries are inherent to a human being, like all of us need it at some point of time. And I think it's really, I'm so glad that the need part of it came, because otherwise it's almost like considered to be something of not a basic need, but an advanced need, which is that is why I think mostly, at least in our part of the world, it's looked at as a very, very yeah, I mean, it's a troubling aspect
Mm.
of like just the basic needs. So yeah, I'm just sitting with that thought. So thank you so much.
Yeah. So I'll be moving forward, and this goes in lines with what Shalini shared. Empathy without boundaries is actually self-destructive, and this reminds me of a conversation I was having with Aarti, because we talk a lot about boundaries. So she said that Dalai Lama, Dalai Lama also has boundaries, and uh, and that was a really cool statement, because I thought, oh, I had this idea that maybe if I am like the most enlightened, or if I am like the most compassionate person on earth, then I may not want boundaries in my life. But that's not true. Dalai Lama also has boundaries, and I am sure that Buddha also has had boundaries, So any kind of empathy uh, without boundaries is just self-destructive, and we'll talk about this. It's not just a statement that I'm just throwing, that, oh, empathy without boundaries is self-destructive, but how is it self-destructive? We are going to talk about that also. um, there's so many examples, and if you explore it for yourself, maybe you'll find more examples in your own life, where especially you have tried being empathetic and it has not worked in anyone's favor. So yeah, this one. Now this is a very cool concept. Uh, Now this is also getting very teacher stuff, but I wanted this presentation to be quite a, uh technical one. I don't know. I'm exploring this side. Now this talks about the locus of our emotional controls. Now, um, usually when we are not aware of things, when we are not embodied, when we are not centered, when things are just like going, like they're just like going on, and we don't know how it's working. We don't know how the life is going. We don't know how situations are coming. We don't know how we are handling them. And it so happens that this is called like the sleeping state. And so when that happens, when there's a situation that happens in life, when we are unconscious in a way, when we are sleeping, so to say, and some hurtful situation happens, some suffering strikes us, we are usually haywire. We don't know what to do. We are not able to navigate through our own emotions. We are not able to express or even feel completely the grief, the pain, or even the happiness or the sadness fully at that time. So that is where I see that the locus of our control is outside. So the circle is us, and this small dot that you're seeing, that is kind of like outside of us. It's not within us. The outside situations are determining our own emotions. Outside situations are telling us, oh, there's grief, so we are experiencing grief. There's sadness, so you're sad. There is anger, so you're angry. So when outside situations are kind of controlling the way you are experiencing things, I like to call it like the locus of control is outside of you. Um, when that control, sense of control, I'm not saying that we are able to control fully, but that sense of control is somewhere within you. You're kind of equanimous, you're stable, you're able to observe pain as it comes and as it goes. You're able to see suffering as it comes as it goes, and you're able to navigate through your experiences in a state where your brain is working properly, like their prefrontal is working but not your blah blah. It's not like going here and there, but you're kind of centered, and you're able to navigate, and you're able to take care of things and make decisions and find a way out, right? So this is important. I wanted to share this first before starting on anything else, because boundaries as a thing, it is a process. It's not like today I learned about boundaries, so from tomorrow I'll be like a pro at boundaries. It doesn't work like that. But it starts somewhere between understanding and kind of negotiating between this locus of control. Because as and when we get aware of what is determining our emotions, we tend to take the control back to ourselves and find like a stable base within us. So it's important to understand the locus of control, and it's easier to observe that when you've seen this diagram. So the next time something painful, something different, something very difficult happens around you, and you start feeling those emotions, it becomes very easy for you to understand, oh, right now my locus of control is outside of me and it's not within me. So you can start doing your self-care activities. You can start sitting in stillness, sitting in silence, being mindful of what is happening. You can start journaling. You can start doing so many things which can take you to a place where you make a sense of what's happening, and you're able to live through your emotions that are happening, right? So this diagram in itself helps to at least just observe objectively what is happening, and that is why I wanted to share this. So there are four. Now we're going to go into types of boundaries, and let me know if this is getting boring. I can just chuck this presentation and like just talk about boundaries just as it is. But some basics I think we have to learn so that it's easier to go through. Um, there are four kinds of boundaries. Now imagine this as um, so there's a soft boundary. Soft boundary is like, now consider a window, for example. A soft boundary is like a window where there's a curtain which is like cotton. All right, it's just that. There's nothing else. There's no glass, there's no grill, there's nothing there. There's nothing, only a white curtain, so to say, the one that is there behind me. So if there's a white curtain and you're able to see things you're able to feel things, but um, you're able to see, you're able to feel, but still there's a distance between two things. So there's like a soft boundary. It's not very hard, it's not a wall, it's not kind of rigid, it's not permeable, like you're not going outside of that, you're not coming, you're just able to see through. um, that's kind of a like a soft boundary, like you can see in this diagram, it said soft boundaries. So what this diagram says is a little bit different than what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the types of boundaries, but here they are saying that there are people who have certain kinds of boundaries. Some people have soft boundaries, some people have hard boundaries, some people have flexible boundaries, some people have spongy boundaries. Arti, I'm somewhere not able to see everyone, so I'm somewhere not feeling very connected to the group. What can I do?
On the side, you have the option of can you see?
Yeah, I'm able to see some of them, but this is just like okay.
Nothing here with you.
But are you able to see the screen properly?
Yeah, I can see the screen, and I can see on the side there are some few faces, and I can scroll to see everyone.
Okay, great. I think this one is the one that I can see.
Yeah.
Sure. So, some of us are people who have um, very soft boundaries. We um, we kind of we actually don't know about boundaries, but like we may not have used the term boundaries in our life ever, but we may be placing them with people now and then. And some of the examples would be, if you are in your room and you just want to be alone, you just say that, oh, I don't want to meet anyone right now, I just need some time for myself. That is a boundary, right? You might be someone um, who wants to meet someone, who wants to socialize, who wants to go out and talk to people. And sometimes when you do that, your friends might have told you that, oh, you know what, right now I'm not in a place where I can socialize. Right now I don't want to talk, and you might have been the receiving end of someone's boundary. So all of us have gone through some or the other situations where either we have placed a boundary or we have been part of the receiving end of the boundary, where someone else is placing a boundary and we are receiving that. Now, I want you uh, to kind of go back and kind of remember one incident in your life where maybe you had placed a boundary with someone. Just one situation, any small situation, maybe today or yesterday, whenever. Could be anything. Um, could be not wanting to speak with anyone when you are when you were awake in the morning, just wanting some time for yourself. Maybe you wanted to eat alone and not with everyone, or maybe you wanted to sit with everyone and eat, so you insisted on everyone to come and sit with you. I just want you to consider that. And once you've considered that, i want you to um, I want you to remember again how placing your boundary was taken by people around you. Was it taken well? Was it appreciated? Or um, was it denied? Or were you shamed? Or were you told that it's not important? What were your reactions? What were the reactions or responses to the boundaries that you place?
Would you like us to share?
No, I just want you to consider.
Okay.
We are doing this because once you get that idea, you will automatically understand what kind of boundaries you place in situations. If you are someone who places very soft boundaries, or are you someone who just pulls back or takes like a makes like a rigid boundary? And are you someone who's kind of spongy, who allows rigid as well as soft boundaries to just play around? Um, I think all of us go through that. All of us have kind of rigid boundaries with a lot of people in certain situations, and we have soft boundaries with people we feel safer with. So there are different kinds of boundaries we all go through. I just want you to kind of remember and consider that so that you feel more relatable when you do it.
Is there even something like not having boundaries, or will like it comes into soft boundaries only?
Yeah, that's a soft boundary. Not having boundaries is a soft boundary because it's not possible that we don't have boundaries. Boundaries is actually, so we can talk about that. See, now that you said that having no boundaries is the soft boundary, and I want to explain that. uh, our sense of self actually comes by how we differentiate ourselves from others, right? um, when when we grow up, uh, people have told us that, oh, you are this, you like this. And usually when we are small, we listen to that and we make a sense of self, right? Like when we are children, our parents and everyone tell us what we are, and based on that we make our self image. But as we grow up, we usually find a sense of self by trial and error, by trying different things, by usually saying no to what our parents are saying and doing what we feel like doing, what we feel new to do. So that is our sense of self during adolescence. And then when we are slowly growing up into adults, we have a very particular sense of self that, oh, I look like this, and I have emotions like this, and I am a private person, and I am a social person, and I like long hair, and I like this color. So there are different preferences, and that's how we make a sense of self. And that sense of self is different from others, and that is what makes us, like, that is a boundary, right? Because when we are different from others, there's a difference there, and that becomes a boundary. Boundary is not a thing that we do. It actually is something that happens to us, and that's what creates our like sense of self for us. Um, so yeah, not having boundaries is actually a soft boundary because we are any which way different from others. It's just that we're not aware of that as of now. We're not fully aware of it, what makes us different than others. We are still exploring that, um, in our hearts, in our minds, in our thoughts, in our life situations. So yeah, I think Preeti asked that, right?
Yes, yes.
Preeti, I like, does that make sense to you?
Yes, I think it does.
So there are many places where we might need boundaries. Some of them are given here, uh, but today we are mostly going to talk about um, boundaries in relationships. And mm, boundaries in relationships are boundaries with our partners, but not limited to that. It is boundaries with our family members and people will we stay with or have contact with on a daily basis. um, which also includes our office colleagues and our friends, right? So boundaries is a topic which is kind of a like a horizon in our connections and our relationships. So why are boundaries important? um, do we need to answer that? What do you think? Why are boundaries important? Can you just say something on that, like a word? Can you just type it down? What do you think? Why are boundaries important? One word that comes to your mind when I say that boundaries are important. Okay, Aarti, you need to say that out loud because I can't see the chat screen.
Alright, so I said to avoid compassion fatigue, then Priya says for inner space, and then we
Mm.
have for your own survival from Prerna, and Preeti says self-compassion and protection, and Tanishta says for our health. Because I think so many times our health gets affected, our physical health gets affected if we don't have proper boundaries, and that's an important one. To eventually
Yeah.
make deeper connections with self and others, and that's what Hetal said, which is true. Like, contrary to our expectations, boundaries help us make deeper connections. Self-preservation, mind and body, from Prerna. Yeah, it's so important. The connection between expressing our boundaries and the peace of mind and also our body. Yeah, so these are the responses that we've got.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you for reading that. And I want to say that all of them are true, and those are the reasons that we need boundaries. And I really like the way Hital said that for connection, because we make boundaries. Now this is contrary to what most people think. People think that, oh, boundaries are like walls. How can I make boundaries with people that I love? You know, so it's actually contrary to that. Boundaries are something that we place so that we are able to connect in a better way. You know, if I am connecting with someone, and see, this is me and this is that someone, and I am not comfortable. If I am not comfortable, I am not able to lean and have a connection. If I'm comfortable, I will lean and I will connect very nicely. But if I am not comfortable, then I will be very like doubtful. I might not trust. I might have issues. I might manipulate. I might be in anger. I might be in so many other places if I'm not comfortable. So when I'm not comfortable, I say that I'm not comfortable. That, hey, I'm not comfortable. Can we do something to make this space comfortable so that I can also lean and be together? So boundary is nothing else but saying in simple words what you're feeling, um, so that you're able to connect with the other person. It's not to tell them that, oh, you are bad, so go away. It's not that. It's really just telling that you are needing something, and you're asking the other person if they can consider what you are needing, right? So this is very important. Like, boundaries are there for connection. They're not to push people away. They're not to tell them that they've done things wrong and they don't understand you. It's actually to bring people close and to tell them that we want connection and we want to feel comfortable in that connection, and therefore to say that, okay, this is what I'm needing and this is what will make me comfortable. Can we talk about that? you know so yeah, here are some examples on the screen, and if you can relate with some of them. Usually when we share with someone, um, there's usually a kind of boundary that we can place. If see whenever we are having conversations, it 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 kind of gets draining in a way. Sometimes when the conversation is not healthy, when the conversation is just about pitching, or is it about saying bad things to other people, or just kind of sharing the same patterns again and again and again, which might kind of take the listener down as well as the speaker down, and it's not good for both of them. So if you are getting aware of, sometimes it happens that we are talking with a friend and that friend is just going on and on and on and on about the same thing, and then we are like, stop, like, can't do it anymore, can't listen to your bullshit anymore, just like get your life together and do things, but we can't say that. But you kind of feel that inside you, that there's no end to this conversation, and that's when you feel like, oh, I wish I could tell her that this is not how things will solve. um, and which brings me to a very important point, that placing boundaries is very different than giving suggestions and giving advice. Because um, placing boundaries is just telling someone that what they are sharing is affecting us and we may need some time to process it, or that we are not comfortable when they share it. And giving advice something else altogether. When we give advice, it's like you're sharing something and I'm giving a solution to that. I'm telling you that, oh, this is what is happening and this is what you need to do, which totally negates or gives away the energy of the session. So of the session or the conversation that you are having, right?
Sakshi, I have a question regarding
Yes,
one of
please.
the points.
Yeah.
The fourth one,
Yeah.
that's not very clear to me.
Okay.
Can you give an example for that? How much new information we are willing to take?
Yeah, I'll just take that up. Thanks. So this is very valid in our today's world, especially in the world of news channels. And I'm just taking an example of a news channel. Information can come in from various places. Um, so whenever we are watching TV or watching news channels, there's a lot of information that we are picking up from there, right? Or even when we are in a gathering of people where people are just talking and sharing and doing all sorts of social things, we are literally picking up information from everyone. And sometimes that information can get so overwhelming, uh, because we may not be ready to take up that much information about something. We may have very different opinions about something, and somehow that information has triggered our beliefs and everything all together in one go. And then it's really emotionally overwhelming for us to be able to navigate through that, to understand that, to process that, you know. So like a bombardment of information uh, can can feel very overwhelming, and it can put you in a place which might take you a longer time to process, right? So I think this point only means that uh, you can place a boundary when there's like too much information around you, and you can say that, okay, right now I'm not in a space where I can take in more information. This could be with your TV channels. This could be with your consumption of social networks. Like on Facebook, when we just kind of like scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and we're just mindlessly scrolling, but we are actually taking information from there. So we can place a boundary with ourselves as well. That okay, I just want to be on Instagram for half an hour in a day. I will scroll Facebook only for 15 minutes in a day, and that's how you can limit your intake of information. Or if there's some books that you're reading which are like really toxic for you, or if there's some social gathering that you attend that is becoming really toxic for you. Women, at least in my colony, there are women who gather every evening, and then they talk about every little thing that has happened in their life on that day. and they just start like talking, and then the conversation goes on for a long time. So you can place a boundary in such social circles as well if it's overwhelming for you, uh, that maybe you will just stay there for like 10 minutes, talk and catch up with your friends, and then come back home rather than spending the whole evening uh, gathering information and sharing. So these are the kind of boundaries that can happen when new information is there. I hope that is clear.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And I also wanted to add, sometimes when we're on this journey of healing, we
Yeah.
overdose on self help and spiritual books or quotes or
Yes.
videos, and we're just like constantly doing that inner work. And that's another aspect of shadow work as well, where we're constantly hunting for places where we need to work more on ourselves or develop some, new aspect and this and that, and get rid of a belief system and like change our patterns, and that becomes a habit. And then we're constantly looking for new information about our own shadows, and that also can get really um, unhelpful, and it's a loop. So yeah, I also wanted to bring that in. And Heta says about the next point that it can also be when we're developing new ideas and we need our space to develop it before we share, which is so important. The gestation period and the incubation time of an idea can be very long, and just because now we're like connecting and there's so much outward movement in our day-to-day lives and so much discussion, sometimes we say something when we're not ready to share it. So to realize that we can say that, hey, I'm still in the process of figuring this out and I'm choosing not to share it until I have clarity. So yeah, just to normalize that kind of boundary. Yeah, thanks for sharing, Hetal.
Thanks, Aarti, but that point was really good
Thank you.
on self-help.
Yeah, the point of spiritual exhaustion, that's what I call it, when I'm just like going on and on about reading and watching YouTube videos and finding new books, and just trying to find a solution to the problem that I'm currently having. And so that can go on, and it's a loop, like she said, and it's a real thing. I That's a good place where we can place a boundary with ourselves, to just rest and find a place of um, restfulness, and then letting that stillness and restfulness find an answer for us by itself, because our inner wisdom is so important, and it's so wise. It knows everything. You just have to let that wisdom come through, you know so yeah, thanks for sharing that. um, okay, so now that we spoke about boundaries that way, these are some ways, um, some types of boundaries, uh, and these are the ways in which they can get violated, right? So there are some physical boundaries. If I am this body and I have a physical range around me, if that physical range is intruded by someone and I don't feel comfortable, then I say that my physical boundary is violated, right? Um, then my emotional boundary, when I'm having some emotions, and if my emotions are not validated or heard, I'm not saying validated, it's a big term. I'm saying if my emotions are not heard, or if my emotions do not get a place to be on the table where everybody's emotions is allowed but mine are not allowed, then if my emotions are kind of dismissed, then I say that my emotional boundary is violated. um, After that, we have the intellectual boundary, where if I have some belief, if I have some opinion, and when I express that opinion, it is not heard, or I am forced to believe someone else's opinion about something. This is where my intellectual boundary is violated, where my thoughts or my beliefs about something, or my idea of something is denied, or I'm uh, forced to learn a different idea of something, you know. So at that time my intellectual boundary is violated. um, Spiritual boundaries are just something, like if I have a spiritual belief, if I follow something, if I have a way, if I have a path, and if that path is denied in a way, or discouraged, or if in that if our path if by our path we are used to, or if you're manipulated to, like, these days there's this whole religion thing where we are somehow fear driven, where we are being forcefully told that, oh, do this, otherwise God will punish you, and so many other uh, statements like that that go around. So that's when my own spiritual boundaries are violated, where I am not allowed to have a spiritual belief, and I am not allowed to have a spiritual practice that I can create for myself, and I'm forced to believe in someone else's ways, you know. So that's when I think the spiritual boundaries are violated. So these are some ways that our boundaries are violated. Yeah, this is a very important slide, so to say. There's some things that we may want to consider when we set boundaries. We have to understand that most people are not intentionally trying to violate our boundaries. Now, this is very important, especially when we are placing boundaries with someone. Um, and this happens usually in the families. Whenever we try to place a boundary with our parents or with someone in the family, uh, we tend to feel that they just don't want to listen to us, or they just don't want to understand what we are going through, or they just don't understand that, and we feel like they're intentionally not listening to us, or they're intentionally not understanding what we are going through. And that can create negative beliefs uh, in our own head, negative images in our own heads about people around us, and which is not good for healthy connection, right? So it's important to understand that people do not violate our boundaries intentionally. It's important that we tell them in a way that this is so. Some people don't even know the term boundaries, some people don't understand what boundaries are, and we have to tell them in simpler words why we are placing a boundary. uh, and when we do that, there's usually a very nice opportunity for both to connect. um, because when I say that, uh, or if I place a boundary with, for example, my partner, that uh, that I don't like when you speak to me like that. uh, so so the next time, when you have to share something which you don't like, or next time you want to share a feedback with me, I want you to comfort me first. If this is a boundary that I've placed, my partner may not understand that in the first go. If I just say that, you know what, I don't like the way you talk, if I just say that, they might not understand where this is coming from. But if I say that I do not like the way you shared that, or that you said that, the next time you have some feedback, can you please comfort me first? By that, what I'm doing is that I am telling them that I'm not comfortable the way they have spoken with me, but I'm presenting an opportunity to them to comfort me first, because that is my need at the moment. When they are not okay, when they're sharing feedback, I am feeling scared that they might leave me. So I say that comfort me first, so that I feel comforted, so that I am not in that fear that they leave me, and then I'm in a healthy space where I can take the feedback that they're giving me, right? So explaining your boundaries is important, especially in very near uh, in very like close connections. I'm not saying that you have to go and find everyone and then place a boundary and then explain your boundary to them. I'm not saying that, but at least with your close connections, it's important that you place the boundary, but you also explain in a way if they are not um, understanding of it, because remember, we are placing boundaries to enhance the connection. We are not placing boundaries to degrade or end the connection, right? So, yeah. The second point is the way we express a boundary is just as important as how someone responds. Um, People will take boundaries badly because whenever we say something which is not expected of us, uh, which is something that we have not done before, especially with them. There is some resistance that comes to us, and fear of that resistance is something which stops us from placing boundaries in the first place. We always think that, oh, if I say that, then they would get angry, or if I say that I need this, then they might just not give me, or they might leave me. There are so many different fears that come up when we are trying to place boundaries, and that fear in itself is what shadow work is actually. That is what Aarti has been talking about, that uh, whenever we are about to place boundaries, there's a fear that comes in, and when we observe that fear, we realize that there's an internal talk going on between us, amongst us, andar hi andar, that we feel that, oh, if I say that I want this person, um, you know, will not give that to me. And why do I think that? Because I think that I'm not worthy enough of getting that from them, you know. So this whole internal dialogue is where shadow work comes, then boundary comes, and then connection comes. So all three, shadow work, working with ourselves, working with our own internal dialogue of what I think of myself, boundaries, saying in simple words what we are needing or what we don't like, and then leaning in vulnerability to get the connection. uh, you know so these are like the three elements of healthy connecting, where there's internal dialogue with ourselves, there's saying what we want in simple words rather than reacting, rather than shouting, rather than getting angry, rather than manipulating, and all of that. And then there's vulnerability. Vulnerability comes when you simply say that, oh, you know what, I need this for a connection. And then that person, living it, like it is vulnerable because you're just kind of leaving that in the space, and you don't know where it's going to go. You don't know if the other person is going to catch that cue and then give you that need that you have asked for. That's why it's vulnerable. But at the same time, it gives you an opportunity to connect. When that other person is able to grasp that cue from you, they are able to connect with you. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna power through because we don't have a lot of time now. um, so the third point is resistance can sometimes be caused by a person's fear of losing connection to us. Like I said, whenever we place a boundary, the other person might feel that we are trying to create a wall with them, where they feel as if we are breaking the connection. So sometimes when you place a boundary, you can also affirm to people that I am needing this because I want a good connection with you. I am needing this because I am not comfortable when we talk like this, and I want to be comfortable when I talk with you. You know, so affirming statements when you're placing boundaries is also very important. Fourth point, some don't know the term boundary and need it to be explained more simply. Like I said, some may not know, and we may have to explain them. But I would still say that keep this to only your very close connections where you already feel a little bit safe. When you're not feeling safe with someone, and if you try to explain boundaries, it might just escalate some other issue. So try this only with your very close connections where you already feel safe, first, and then maybe you can try with others, but first you should only try it with people that are close to you. Sharing a bit of an internal process can be helpful for some drastic boundaries, right? So when I say while placing a boundary that this makes me uncomfortable and I want to be comfortable, that in itself tells them that we are going through some internal dialogue which is not good, and they might be able to help us in that, so they automatically accept our boundary when we are placing it. Yeah, this is important. So this is what I think Aarti also spoke about when she spoke about spiritual exhaustion. But this is just like a broad spectrum of that. Um, this is about violating our boundaries with ourselves. The first point, like it says, that spending time with people to the point of emotional exhaustion, when we share and share and share, and there's just no there's energy giving and not like a proper exchange of it. And yeah, oversharing can become a very toxic activity. So there's a boundary that can be placed there. um, Not speaking up about something that is important to us, usually when we are so accustomed to not realizing our own needs, when we are so accustomed to pleasing people around us or to adjusting ourselves according to people around us, we tend to not speak up what we are feeling. We tend to not say our emotions. We tend to not ask for what we need. And not speaking up tells our own internal dialogue becomes that, oh, I am not worthy of speaking up or getting what I need, and therefore I will not speak up. Therefore I will just adjust to things around me, and that will give me um, that'll be like peaceful, kind of. If I don't say, then the situation will be peaceful. If I say, then I don't know what will happen, so I will rather not say. That is kind of the internal dialogue that some of us have. um, and that's a way of violating our own boundary. Over giving without asking to have our needs reciprocated back. This is a very, very, very usual pattern in relationships, and we see, especially, I think, our mother figures doing this a lot. Um, uh, like I have mostly seen mothers just giving and giving and giving the whole family, without taking care of what she needs, and without having to say what she needs. And reciprocation is something that comes after that. So uh, this is kind of a wound that we collectively carry as well. But uh, over giving without having to ask um, for what we need is a way of violating our own boundary. Not making our opinions or our emotions a priority. This is again the same thing. If we bury our own emotions, if we bury our own or brush off our own opinions, um, then we that is what happens. We tell ourselves, when we brush off our opinion, when we brush off our emotion, we tell ourselves that it's not important. And when we tell ourselves that it's not important, it's a act of self destruction, because we are telling ourselves that we don't matter. And when we say that we don't matter, it just goes, I don't know where. There's no connection there. There's no connection with self. There's no connection with other. We are not safe in that environment. So first things first is to, you know, make our own emotions and opinions and beliefs a priority. To tell ourselves that what I feel matters. What I experience matters. Um, so yeah, not letting people know when we hit our emotional or physical limits. Um, yeah. So when there are limits to everything, right? We we talk with someone, and after about an hour, we are like, okay, I'm exhausted. I need to go home. You know, or we've watched TV for like we've watched some Netflix series for like 2 hours, and then we are like, oh, I'm exhausted. I need to sleep now. So all of these, not respecting what we are feeling in the moment is violation of boundary. So yeah, that's where.
Sakshi,
Yes.
hi. I
I
wanted to ask you something.
Yes.
Um, what what can you do if I'm giving an example of suppose work.
Uh-huh.
At my workplace, I entered with a very apologetic tone. Like
Okay.
even though it is somebody's job to do something, I'd apologize, I'd request, I'd ask for it to be done. Even
Hmm.
though it's the system, I do my job, they do theirs. But
Hmm.
the tone that I entered with very set the tone for their behavior toward me,
Hmm.
which started becoming my work getting delayed, my
Hmm.
tasks not getting done, my client not always getting things end moment, me
Hmm.
having to have to chase and constantly check up, is this done, can you please share it, is this done, can you please share it, which allows probably other people to finish their day at 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and my
Hmm.
day will probably go on till 11 or 12 with
Hmm.
constant anxiety, because
Right.
I'm constantly waiting for something for my work to get done.
Hmm.
And I realize I completely, like, on introspection, I know it is that I didn't set those boundaries. I went in with a very um, please do this for me, as if I was actually asking for a favor, whereas it is
Hmm.
just their job that they should be doing.
Right.
And now I don't know how to reverse it, how to put those boundaries in place, because for so long they have been able to step over those boundaries or treat me the way that I have been constantly being treated here.
Hmm.
Is there something that you can suggest that I can start doing apart from what personally I've implemented is to try not to say sorry in
Hmm.
every conversation, not be so apologetic, not make myself appear this small or this insignificant. But
Yeah.
even apart from that, I need to implement something stronger for
Hmm.
my own mind, for me to able to have a normal life after work.
Right. Yeah. So I feel like this is Prerna, right?
Yeah. Hi.
Yeah. So Prerna, what we can do at such a point right now, I think I would just invite you to ask yourself first how you feel when you say sorry, you know, and secondly, I would also ask you to now there are some things that you can do, but I would not like to say that here on a session because we have other people here, you know.
Right,
So
right.
so we can get on a call after this, but um just to like say something on it right now, I would say that um yes, you recognized it well that a stronger or a firm boundary placing is important in your situation right now. But at the same time, um, you have to be in a way ready to take some backlash in that situation. And if you're not prepared for that, it might be very harsh. So because it's a corporate place, and they have very structured rules, and they have very structured ways of being, and um, what you can do at the moment is talk to your direct manager about this
Right.
somehow. And
Right.
if you can, because see, even managers and HRs are people, right? So they have
Right.
emotions, they also have families, they also have their personal time. So
Right.
uh, if you connect with them on a personal level, explaining to them how it is for you, maybe that will help.
All right. Thanks, Akshi.
Yeah. Hmm. I think this is one of the last slides, but I still want to open this forum open for conversation rather than going with those slides. I feel like having more conversations. Arti?
Shakti, would you like to close the presentation so you can see all of us?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
This
then
is
yeah.
a relief.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
So, I think the second point about boundaries or something like this.
Subha, we can't
Can
hear
you be a
you.
little bit louder, please?
Yeah. So, this is about, if you, the situations where you feel, if you express yourself,
Mm.
it will lead to conflict and then you will get emotionally drained. I often find myself in that situation so often. So what has happened is over a period of time, I've like stopped expressing only because I
Mm.
know that any other person is not able to understand and like you kind of give up. This is not going anywhere. So or like and what happens is I'm not able to articulate a lot of things properly because I'm like so hurt and innately like something very similar to what Prerna said, like you carry a little bit of self-doubt and like very diminished sense of self that you don't even stand up for yourself when you're right. You take up the entire world's guilt, you know and it's so easy, and I think people catch this very fast, this thing, and they are like all the time, even when you're right, like they will point fingers and say you were the one who's wrong, and it always goes down the drain. Like the
Mm.
pattern is always that it like these conversations which you try to have never go anywhere. It will leave you emotionally drained, so you'd much rather not express only.
Mm.
I found some like like certain things I've been able to work around, but I thought I will still ask you. So, what would you suggest to some people? I think a lot of people face this. बात करूंगी तो it's waste only. कुछ होने नहीं वाला है. I rather conserve my energy. Neither is that person will listen or change. What would you suggest? Like, or do you want to address it later?
So, Subha, it's a very good question, and I think that I I have something to say about that. So when you say that they are just not going to understand, rather than saying they are just not going to understand, we can take it in a different way that, oh, so they are not understanding, but I am understanding, you know. So we understand. It's important that we understand first. It's 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 very little to do with how they are or they are not, because we can't control that. You see, the locus of control is not here, it's there. So we can't control that any which way.
True.
People will have so many different,
Yeah.
you know and they are allowed to have that. They
True.
are allowed to have that because we are allowed to have ours as well,
True.
right? So whenever there is something that's there been in them, that, oh, they are not going to understand, rather than, I think, taking it as कि यार इनसे तो मैंने बात ही नहीं करनी चाहिए, इनको तो मैंने बताना ही नहीं चाहिए, rather than saying that, giving ourselves that dilasa, dilasa is the word, that okay, but I understand what I feel, I understand.
True.
And then when we completely give ourselves that, we find a place of I would say pity plus compassion. It oscillates. There's sometimes pity that, oh, I wish they could understand. And then on the other side there's compassion that, oh, they are unable to understand. Maybe I can help them in some way, you know. So we are trying to reach that place where we are having that oscillation between pity and compassion uh, rather than going into that place of blame that, oh, they are not understanding, what should I do, you know. So getting there slowly, and that would come when you validate your own emotions.
True.
It's to do with the internal dialogue. It is nothing to do with them. There are so many people in the world. They have thousands and thousands of emotions and opinions, and so many of them are very different. We can't keep a tally of that, it's impossible for us.
This is not about like everybody. This is about people you interact with regularly, people in your own house, and especially to the point where not resolving, right, is not healthy for the relation, which I'm realizing that,
Yeah.
when you let things, okay, adjust karenge, yeah, like let's just let it go, this entire non-conflict resolution thing, uh, I think finally you lose the connection.
Sorry.
Finally, if you keep doing this over a period, right, you lose all authentic connection with that person. It's not about some XYZ you meet very rarely, or like that part, like you said beautifully. I do understand that everybody's has a different level of consciousness. Everybody is mature differently. They have their own perception. But this is about something, let's say something matters a lot to you. Let's say you and your significant other. This happens, and I'm seeing it in mine and like in a lot of relations, that people are not able to talk it out. Other person is not there. Like I do understand, like you have to, both of you have to come to a plane where you are able to understand, start with a little and keep growing. So, but I don't see it happening for a lot of people. Like, somewhere you have to break it and make that connection. Otherwise, the relation really goes for a toss. It's not about,
So
it's about somebody who's very close to you, where
hmm.
like, a lot of other things can't, you have to resolve. Let's say you rather resolve it. So generally,
so
what do you do when people are like so different, or your
hmm.
emotional patterns and your emotional needs? Let's say somebody is very sensitive, and other person does not know. There's no blame game or anything here. Other person's
Right.
sensitivity scale itself is different. From their point of view, they're okay only. So how do you make
Right.
them understand? It's so common in marriages.
Right. So I feel like there are few things that we have to consider first. Number one is that, um, with our very close relations, I understand that it's very difficult to see them objectively and to see that they will have their own opinion and I will not get affected by that. It's just not something that happens. We get affected by that inherently, like it just happens automatically, and later we understand that, oh, that affected me a lot, you know. So that is there, I agree, it's there. uh, Secondly, I think in our close relationships, um, now all of us go through so many emotions, right? We go through anger, we go through sadness, we go through exhaustion, we go through so many things, and they also go through so many things, right? So when we are going through something, uh, we say, for example, it's my partner, right? And I say that I love my partner, but when I say that, uh, am I assuming that I'm always loving my partner? Like every moment, am I loving my partner? I may not, because I may not feel love all the time. You know,
So
I may feel different emotions. If I'm angry, I'm not loving at that time. You know, so we all go through those spectrum of emotions also, and that happens with our family members as well. So I'm just putting it out there that when we allow our own emotions to survive in a family dynamic, we somewhere get comfortable with allowing other people's emotions also to be there. it's not just me who's important, it's also their emotions that is important. So this I just wanted to bring this in somewhere in this space, so that it's considered when we talk about close relationships and families. And secondly, a very important thing about boundaries is consequences also. So when we are placing boundaries and it is not respected, for example, I say that I want some time alone every day. I want some time alone from my family, at least for 1 hour every day. I say that, and then it's not taken well. Tu to room mein baithe rehti hai, and I don't know what not. These kind of talks they come. So, and sometimes, there are again more violent ways where people react. Like, this was a very simple example, but there are so many different examples that, oh, I want to live away. I don't want to live with you. And then it can be taken really badly. You know, people can just, there are so many other reactions that come in at that time, and then we are not able to handle that. So, firstly, we have to start with a little boundary that, oh, you know what? I need some space. Rather than saying that I don't want to live with you, I need some space. Start from there. See how it goes. See how the reactions are coming. See, because you are getting affected by those reactions, right? So it is your responsibility to take care of that.
True.
It's not like someone is going to come or it's not like they are going to take care of it.
True.
Slowly, one step at a time, uh, you're going to take care of that. Just say that you need some space. Then when that energy is comfortable, when they are okay with taking some space, maybe increase that somewhere. So you have to play around, because it is important to know that you are as much a part of that dynamic as they are. Even if you feel that you are not, you feel that they are in control, it's not like that. You are also in control.
True.
Yeah, I also wanted to
Can
add
I
about
say something?
nonviolent communication as a
Yes.
technique of speaking. There's a book by Marshall Rosenberg where it's about learning how to communicate in conflicts without being a doormat or being demanding, which sometimes we think that the opposite of not having boundaries is being demanding, and that is a threat, and then we just it snowballs into conflict. So it's a really powerful book to explore, and like Sakshi said, the patience that we need to slowly find our way, we see which crack is going to let us bring the light in. It takes some time and strategic and also divine timing, I guess, because when there's close relationships and it's been so many years, there's a set pattern that's developed, and to break that, maybe we need to start with another relationship, explore it in that relationship, get better at it, and then come back.
Yes.
Sometimes just realizing that this relationship is just not going to work in this aspect, and maybe I should just set a boundary for myself to not keep trying to fix it. That's another way of dealing. Sometimes um, because society expects us to have romantic relationships and marriage seen in a certain way, we're constantly trying to fix something, and that itself brings us unhappiness. When we just try to let it be, maybe it's better. So each time it's different. And yeah, Sakshi is also available for one-on-one sessions. She does shadow work and helps us understand relationships much better. So those of you who are seeking, responses to your personal questions, do consider it. She's amazing, and a lot of her learning comes from her personal experience of things. So I really prefer to work with people who don't separate, their being from their work. So she's one of these amazing people. And since we've already crossed our time, so just asking one more person to share so we can just briefly conclude with that. And those of you who are joining for the next session, just a reminder to do the quiz, the questionnaire that I've shared. It's really important. So you all are filled in about what we're going to speak. It's a little technical because it's based on a theory, and it will also help you tune into what Sakshi shared right now. So you'll be able to understand why you have certain patterns with boundaries. Why is it hard to place a boundary? Why is it that you feel like you're pushing people out? So you'll be able to understand those things. So just before we close, we can have the last question.
Yes, Tanishta.
So, uh, I could completely relate and resonate with the conversation that you and Subhaji just had. And in continuation of that, I would like to ask what to do when you feel the guilt within yourself that I placed boundaries with my parents or with my siblings. Because placing boundaries with your mother, with your father, or with your sibling is it's like totally different from placing boundaries from your partner, from your friends, from the other world. And when you are when you are in such a space where you are not able to maintain a balance between the boundaries, like sometimes you go to the one extreme where you don't maintain any boundary and totally involving and indulging in every activity of theirs in everything. And then when something happened, then you will be like, want to maintain some boundaries, and going to the totally extreme of, I will not ask for this, I will not speak on this, I will not do something like this. And then that behavior of yours sometimes is labeled as very childish and very immature, and
Mhm.
you end up asking yourself, what did I just do? So maintaining that balance between boundaries, especially with respect to your parents and with respect to your sibling, how do you do that? And secondly, what to do about the guilt feeling when you feel like that placing boundaries with them might you might lose the connection with them, or you might lose that warmth or love that you once felt, and now you are distancing yourself from them. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So this is very important. Feeling guilt when placing boundaries. So this usually happens when the whole concept of boundaries is very new for us. When we've just started to place boundaries, so a lot of guilt comes up. पहले तो fear आता है, we feel fear to place boundaries. Then somehow we find a way to place a boundary, and then this guilt comes. Oh shit, why did I place a boundary? You know that now that they are not going to respect that. So uh, this happens because we are not convinced inside that what we are saying is important. It happens because we are not fully convinced that what we are expressing is going to be considered, or that it is considerable, at least. If I'm saying that I don't agree with something. For example, my father agrees in some political party, and I say that, oh, I don't agree with that. And my father is just dismissing that very openly, like, you don't understand. He's just directly saying you don't understand. And just because he has rejected my idea, does it mean that my idea does not exist? Does it mean that my opinion of something is not valid? It is valid, right? But I don't believe that it's valid just because my father told me that it's not valid, right? So within the family, it's very hard because somewhere our sense of self is from what they tell us that we are, and we are risking that when we are placing a boundary. We are risking our sense of what we are when we are placing a boundary with parents, and it's very hard. It's very hard. It's very hard. But we still have to go through that process, uh
Yeah.
slightly, dhire dhire.
There's something that came up for me also, like it's about vulnerability, which was also in the first slide. When it comes to our families, we have that safety. Sometimes our families are not emotionally safe, and of course, like, take it or leave it. But sometimes it's possible for us to say, Mom or Dad, hey, there's something I want to talk to you about, setting context and saying it might be uncomfortable and I'm feeling a lot of guilt around saying this, but I want to express it because it's been bothering me a lot and I feel like you guys will understand. I don't need you to agree with me, but I just want you to listen. Set that context. Make it safe for yourself. and say that if I feel unsafe, I'm not going to say it, because I feel like sometimes because you all don't listen, I shut up and then I don't express myself. So I'm just trying my best to make this communication good. And I don't mean to push your authority, because in our Indian families, there's always, like, just like setting their respect in the on the table and then saying, this is what I feel. So you're already preempting all the things they might say and just making that space safe. So that's one thing that helps me when I'm dealing with my family. And also, Keja says something that helped me was looking at myself as a soul on a journey and looking at them as a soul on the journey themselves. Yeah, interesting. Yeah. So saying that, like, they have their own path, I have my own path. That's a really powerful take. Yeah. Yeah. Remove the authority. Yeah, like, there's so many ways to do it, and we all have our own ways. And I'm sure that as you are listening, and as things will unfold in the next few days, you might realize you're already good at placing boundaries in certain relationships. Like, one powerful exercise you can do is to just sit down and write all the names of people who are closest to you, and see how your relationship is with each one of them, and then go from there. You might realize you have many victories and you can replicate them in other relationships. Or maybe you can say, you know what, this relationship is just not worth it. I was telling Sakshi this just before this call. Like she said, we tend to talk a lot about boundaries just in our friendship. So we were talking about hygiene, mental hygiene, emotional hygiene, spiritual hygiene. Just, yeah, like, enough. I want to focus on my own life. I want to be happy. Like, this area of conflict is not worth it. And for my spiritual hygiene, I'm not going to engage. So, taking that, she was saying having pity and compassion sometimes for people who just don't get it. And taking that pity and compassion also side mein rakho and say, I don't have time for this. That's so much more empowering, taking the locus of control back into our own being. So yeah, just feel free. Like, even I sometimes feel guilt to place boundaries. Even during this call, I was coordinating something for the next session. I was also feeling guilty. Yaar, maine ye bola, but this happened. It's normal, it's fine. Hota hai, but that doesn't mean like we're losing. It's a part of the process. We learn to live with it. We expand our container. We learn tools. We get used to things. So it's a process. It's a journey, and we're all in it together. Yeah, and we can keep this conversation going.
I think a best way again is to find a buddy who's also learning to place boundaries with you, because that helps a lot. Like, it has helped Aarti and me the most. We
Yeah.
practice boundaries within ourselves before having to place those boundaries with someone else. We actually place boundaries with each other. I tell Aarti what I'm going to say to that person, and then we kind of do like a check-in with each other, and then we do that with others. It gives us more context. It places us in a more grounded space where we are not pushing people away. We are not very rigid in our boundary. We're making it more compassionate, and we are allowing their reaction also to happen. You know, so
So it's
find a buddy.
like a role play with a buddy
Yes, yes.
almost. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
So I would just like to end with a small story. Now, just a small story, and this is gonna end with that. So I don't know if you all know this woman called Brené Brown. She talks a lot about vulnerability. Her talks are there on TED, so you can watch that. She's great. So she shared this story in one of her podcasts, and I find it really amazing. So she was sharing about her sons and her neighbors, right? So her son was having a birthday party, and there was this neighbor that they had which used to crash every party and get drunk like anything, and then dance around like anything and create a scene, right? So all the neighbors were kind of intimidated by that. They did not like it, but they could not say that to her in any way, because how would you say, just going to your neighbor and saying that, oh, you do this and I don't like it, you know? So nobody actually said anything to her. So so it was Brené Brown's son's birthday party, and she had invited everybody, every neighbor, and then she went on to invite that particular lady who used to get drunk, right? So she went on her door, she knocked, and she said that, hey, I really want you to come to my son's birthday party. And then the other person was like, yeah, definitely, we'll have fun and all that. And then Brenny is like, however, I want you to know that I don't want you to drink at the party. It makes me really uncomfortable. She just said that. I don't want you to drink in the party. It makes me really uncomfortable. And that person was like really out of the place. She was like, how could you say that to me? And all of that. But the reason I'm sharing this is that the way Brené Brown placed the boundary, she did not say that you are a bad person or that you make everybody uncomfortable. She did not blame her for anything. She just said that I want you to come to the party, but I don't want you to drink because it makes me uncomfortable. She just told what she felt rather than telling her that she was bad, she was wrong, she was XYZ. You know, it was important for her to say that. So you see that boundaries are a very ew topic. Like it makes you feel like, oh, I don't want to do it. But you still have to somewhere because it makes you feel good when you do it. It makes you feel more valid when you do it. So yeah, this that's a little story.
Thanks for sharing the story, Sakshi. And it makes sense. It shows just how cringy it could be, to like really stand up for ourselves and how important it is. Or we get just walked over. So yeah, thanks for that and for also helping us see a balanced perspective, helping us understand the importance of boundaries and really personalizing it. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks everybody. Uh, thanks for this. But I want to say that boundaries is a very vast topic, and I could only cover very few points in this session that we had. And there are so many dynamics that are involved in placing boundaries. So if there are any like personal things that you want to navigate through, especially related to your family situations, and I could not properly answer uh, personal questions here because uh, I feel like it's a more personal space, and I would like to respect that. So I did not completely answer that, but when we are in a personal space, that time we can explore more deeper, and we can go more in depth with how it is for your relationships. And I'm sure that the next session on attachment theories is gonna give you a lot of clarity, because that is just amazing. Like it goes so well with what boundaries are, and when you know your attachment style, it gets easier to understand boundaries. So yeah, I hope that also.
All
I think
right.
Aarti, we can also end. Yeah,
Yeah, let's end this call. Be back in 15 minutes. Those of you
sure.
who will be
Bye everyone. Thank you very much. Thanks for
there.
joining in.